So let's talk about the new front line in cybersecurity. It's this wild place where both the good guys and the bad guys are starting to look a whole lot like AI. We're going to break down 3 really fascinating research papers that are using large language models, yep, the same kind of tech behind ChatGPT, to hunt down the sneakiest, most advanced cyber threats out there.
This really gets to the heart of the problem. The one question that probably keeps security experts staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. How on earth do you catch a hacker when everything they do is designed to look totally normal? We're not talking about loud smash-and-grab attacks anymore. These are the ghosts in the machine, silent, patient, and unbelievably hard to spot.
You know, for the longest time, our digital security has pretty much worked like a wanted poster system. It looks for known signatures, which are basically the digital fingerprints of bad guys we've caught before. But what happens when a brand new threat comes along? Someone who's not on any poster. Well, that whole system just completely falls apart. We need a new kind of detective, one that understands behavior, not just old mugshots.
All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to get to know the enemy, this stealthy threat. Then we'll meet our 3 new AI detectives. We'll look at where they agree and, maybe more importantly, where they disagree. And finally, we'll wrap up by looking at what this all means for the future. Ready? Let's jump in.
Okay, first things first. Before we talk about the heroes, we need to understand the villain of our story. And trust me, this isn't your average computer virus. We're dealing with a whole different beast.
We're talking about something called Advanced Persistent Threats, or APTs. And honestly, the name kind of gives the whole game away. They're advanced in their tactics. They're persistent. I mean, these things can hide inside a network for months, even years. And they are a major threat, quietly stealing data the whole time. Their main trick? They just blend in, making all their shady business look like boring, everyday computer activity. So how do you fight a ghost? Well, you bring in some ghost hunters. Or, in this case, a new team of defenders powered by AI. We're going to meet 3 of them today, each one like a unique detective with their own special way of cracking the case.
Okay, this is a great way to see our 3 heroes side by side. First up is APT-LLM. Think of this one as the insider threat specialist, the quiet security expert who knows everyone's daily routine and notices when something's off. Then you've got TAD-LLM, our front door ID checker. This one's the super strict bouncer checking every single ID at the door. And finally, there's DAB-LLM, the conspiracy analyst. This is your classic detective with the corkboard and red string, connecting all the seemingly random clues to uncover the master plan.
So let's dig into our first detective, APT-LLM. How does it actually work? Well, its approach is brilliant. First, it takes all that boring technical computer jargon from system logs and translates it into simple sentences. Then, it uses a large language model to create a fingerprint of what normal activity looks like. Its whole job is to become an expert on what boring and normal is. That way, the second something even a little bit weird happens, a fingerprint that doesn't quite match, bells start ringing. It doesn't need to know what a bad guy looks like, just what a good guy does.
All right, next up is our bouncer at the front door, TAD-LLM. This model has a totally different philosophy. As you can see here, it looks at every single API request trying to get into the system, just like someone checking IDs one by one. The key difference is that this model basically went to school. It studied a ton of examples of both good requests and bad requests, so its job is to look at each new request and decide, are you on the guest list or do you match the description of a known troublemaker?
And that brings us to our 3rd detective, DAB-LLM, the conspiracy analyst. This one thinks the other 2 are a little short-sighted. It's not content just looking at one event or one ID check. No, it zooms out. It connects all the individual API calls into chains, into graphs, searching for a suspicious pattern of behavior. See, an attacker might make a dozen requests that look totally innocent on their own. But when you string them all together, they tell a very different story. DAB-LLM is built to find that story.
Okay, so we've met the team. They all have their own style for sure, but what's really fascinating is where they agree. The common ground they all stand on to fight this fight.
The common ground here is actually pretty revolutionary. First, they all agree that the old wanted poster system is obsolete, gone. But here's the real game changer, the secret sauce that connects all of them. They've all figured out how to translate messy computer data into plain language that an LLM can actually understand. By doing this, they can tap into the power of these models to see the context, the story behind the data,
not just a bunch of ones and zeros.
So, we know what they have in common, but now for the fun part, where they disagree. This is where the debate in the world of AI security really starts to heat up.
The first big split is really a philosophical one. How should an AI learn to be a detective? On one side, you have APT-LLM, which says, just show me what's normal, and I'll flag anything that's weird. The huge advantage here, it can spot a brand new attack that no one has ever seen before. But on the other side, TAD and DAB-LLM say, nope, teach me what the bad guys look like. Show me mugshots. Their strength is incredible accuracy against known threats. So it's a trade-off. Do you want a detective who can catch a new kind of criminal, or one who's a world expert on the usual suspects?
The other key difference is about zoom level. Are we looking at a single snapshot in time, or are we watching the whole movie? APT-LLM and TAD-LLM are all about the snapshot. They basically ask, is this one action right now a problem? But DAB-LLM hits play on the movie. It wants to see the whole scene unfold, asking, is this pattern of behavior over time suspicious? It's the difference between catching someone jimmying a lock and uncovering the entire multi-stage heist.
And you know, because they're playing different games, you have to keep score differently. For APT-LLM on the left, its high scores mean it's got a really good gut instinct for telling normal apart from weird. It's great at anomaly detection. For TAD-LLM on the right, that nearly perfect score means when it points a finger and says that's a specific attack, it is almost never wrong. It's like a sniper. So both are getting A+, but in totally different subjects.
All right, let's pull back and look at the big picture. We've met the detectives, we've seen their methods, we've heard the debates. What does this all add up to for the future of AI-powered defense?
Well, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that there is no silver bullet. There's no magic wand. The idea of a single best AI for security is, frankly, a myth. The right tool depends entirely on the job. It's all about what you're trying to protect and the specific threat you're worried about.
And that brings us right back to our detective analogy, because it's the perfect takeaway. A really strong security defense can't rely on just one superstar detective. It needs a whole squad of specialists. You need the insider expert like APT-LLM who knows the layout of the building. You absolutely need that diligent guard at the door, TAD-LLM, checking every ID. And you definitely need the analyst in the back room, DAB-LLM, connecting all the dots to see the conspiracy. It's about teamwork.
Now, of course, the work is far from over. There are still some massive hurdles. For one, we need to know why an AI flags something. Right now, it's often a black box. These models are also incredibly expensive to run. And maybe the scariest part? The attackers are starting to use AI too. It's a full-blown arms race. Plus, it's just really hard to find enough examples of attacks to train on, because, well, they're supposed to be rare.
So, I'll leave you with this one last thought. It's a classic cat-and-mouse game, isn't it? We're building these incredibly smart AI defenders that are getting better and better at seeing things that used to be invisible. But as our AI detectives get smarter, how will the next generation of AI-powered attackers evolve to stay one step ahead? That's the question that is going to define the next decade of cybersecurity.